Hi, and welcome to the Law Center videocast. I'm Larry DeMarco, your host and founder of the Law Center, the largest network of the best trial lawyers in the country, and founder of the Law Center YouTube channel, an online resource of free educational legal videos for self-represented litigants in child custody court. Go to the description portion of this video for more information. Today, we're here with Chris and Terri-Lynn Fowler, the co-founders of False Allegations Canada. They have a saga of triumph to share. Thank you, Chris and Terri-Lynn, for being guests on the Law Center videocast.
Thank you, Larry.
Great to have you. Can you walk us through who you were before this allegation, meaning your work, your family life, and your personal life?
Yeah, so I was brought up with a great family. I had two great parents, my mom and dad. I have a sister that I was born with spinal addiction, so she's in a wheelchair. Um, we're not elderly. When she was at horseback riding or at camps or at appointments, and we're kind of surrounded by others that were in a wheelchair. So I kind of grew up learning from my parents to help others. Um, in 1992, I started an apprenticeship training service dogs for people in wheelchairs. Finished the apprenticeship, and then I was contacted by a mother that had a child with autism. That program wasn't offered anywhere else in the world, and it was something that I created in 1995 to help families and children that had autism. So for that, our program was created, we're running off for Real Canada. I worked extensively around the world training guide dog instructors and guide dog certain programs that they have so that they're able to help kids with autism as well.
Did you at some time become a foster parent as well?
I did. So I was married in 1999. I have two biological daughters. And in 2005, our family decided to further give back to help kids in need. We decided to become foster parents, to give kids that were struggling a safe place to be. Over the years, we had over 20 children in and out of our home, and the second child that was in our home, we adopted.
When did everything change, and what was the first sign that something was seriously wrong?
So our adopted daughter had no contact with, by her choice, with her biological mother. Um, when she came into our home until the time she was 18, so about 7 years had gone by, and she had no contact with her mother. Just before her 18th birthday, she reconnected with her biological mother, and that's really when things changed for our family. She moved out of our house, disconnected from our family, and within 2 months of leaving our home, there was a suicide attempt by her. At that time, she came back to our house on the doctor's recommendation, kind of got her back on track over the next year, got her registered for university. She went through a breakup with a boyfriend, attempted suicide again, and that's really when my life changed forever.
So, not really a spoiler, but you eventually started False Allegations Canada. So, this child made a false allegation. So, tell us about that turning point, Chris.
It just devastating. I had never ever been involved with the police, the court system. Um, it really was like living a nightmare. She had made a claim, a false claim of sexual assault, and claimed that the assault started 2 weeks after she arrived at our house. which would have been just after her 12th birthday, until the age of 16. And then it just stopped, but she remained in our home. So that was her claim.
Can you briefly tell some of the comedy of errors that were involved to set some of the background that were really frustrating here?
There was so many, and a lot of it could have just been resolved over a cup of coffee. After she had made the allegations, I continued to receive messages from her, saying, I'm sorry, I never meant for this to happen to our family. I didn't want anybody to get hurt. Can I come for our other daughter's birthday party? Just all the stuff we tried to explain to the Children's Aid Society, which here in Canada we call CAS, very similar to CPS in the United States. Um, and it just fell upon deaf ears.
And also, an adoption agency also had evidence and records that she made several other false allegations against a foster parent and against an ex-boyfriend, right?
So yeah, and so it wasn't an adoptive agency. So it was the Children's Aid Society who completed the adoption. And once the adoption was completed, so it took 2.5 years, and she was still in our home during this time for the adoption to be complete. When it was complete, we received her social history, and included in that social history was something that we had never saw, something that we had never been told about, and it was 4 months before her arriving at our home, she had made an allegation against a previous foster father, and the same charges that I was eventually charged with.
What were the darkest moment of this process, emotionally, legally, or professionally?
There's just so many dark moments looking back at this. So this started for me in 2013, October 22nd, 2013. Lasted 6.5 years. So in family court, in criminal court, um, ended for me, thankfully, with a not guilty verdict on September 30th, 2019. During that time, there were just so many dark moments. Lawyers and bills. My career had ended. I worked with the vulnerable sector. And yeah, just a lot of really, really dark times.
After you were found not guilty, did life go back to normal, or what came next?
It, that's it, during my trial, that's kind of what I had hoped for. I needed closure to this, and um, I hoped that it was a not guilty verdict, and that the judge was able to see the truth of what happened in court. And what I was accused of didn't happen. And so I kind of held on to that, thinking that, I just need to get through this, and then everything will go back to normal. And it just doesn't. Once you're falsely accused, it's something that stays with you forever. I was placed on conditions by the police and by the court, and they differed from um, the conditions that the Children's Aid Society was putting on me. I was told by the Superior Court that I needed to be at home with my children, and then the Children's Aid Society telling me that if I do go home, they'll apprehend my kids.
This is during the time where you were supposedly, at least in the United States, presumed innocent, right? Or was this after you were found not guilty?
So this is when I was presumed innocent. Um, in Canada, we don't have a not guilty verdict. So um, I remember these words clearly from my first lawyer. He said, at the end of your trial, you'll never hear the words not guilty, right? He said, what you may hear And what we hope that you hear is that the Crown or the prosecutor failed to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. That stuck with me. Sorry, those, yeah. Um, I, I didn't do this, and that's what I wanted to hear from a judge, that I was not guilty. Thankfully, in my case, I did get to hear those words. I did get to hear the judge say that I was not guilty and I was free to go.
But there's some people who are innocent that prove or defeat the prosecution and don't get to hear those words. Is that what you're saying is the
Yeah,
case in Canada?
and, and that was my fear, right? Is that my trial was during the height of the Me Too movement, um, and and I think a lot of the reactions from the police, not only the police that investigated this or were supposed to investigate this, um, as well as Children's Aid, that with the height of the Me Too movement, that I would be found guilty, and I think that there's a lot of people in jail. Our police here in Canada, they arrest first and then investigate later, and that it's completely wrong. Like the trauma that I have from being arrested. I've never had handcuffs on in my life, but still, like I can hear the clicking of the handcuffs or the officer's hand on my forearm leading me to a police car, the closing of the jail cell door, like all those sounds, and yeah, it still traumatized me.
What do people and the public completely misunderstand about being falsely accused?
One that it until it happens to you or somebody that you know, um, it's so misunderstood. And I'll be the first to say that, before this happened to me, I thought like if somebody was arrested or the police said that this person did something, but why would the police make that up, or why would they say that before an investigation is done? And proof that I, I was presumed guilty and had to prove myself innocent.
So the presumed innocent or the not guilty verdict, Chris went through a myriad of a process after being found not guilty that he needed to, like CPIC database is a registry that you're on with your fingerprints and all of that, crossing the border. Even going through that entire ordeal, hiring different organizations to help remove that, they come back and still say to him, the Crown failed to prove their case. And he's one of the strongest men I know, and he's got the biggest fight. But it's so hard to hear that,
Terri-Lynn, what has it been like to watch Chris being treated as if he did something where he didn't, and he's actually presumed still that he did?
Heartbreaking and helpless feeling. There's just nothing you can do to mend that for him, but just be the strongest support you can. Allow him to feel what he feels and venture through each of those steps with him the best you can, supporting him and just loving him through it. Trust is hard, and I had to earn my piece of trust. I know he gifted me with the knowledge of all of this for the first time we met, but trust, I've earned it over time, and I think I've finally gotten it.
Chris, Can you explain what it means to lose even if you win in a false allegation case?
I think like Terri-Lynn just said that, you know, the not guilty verdict was great. It was somewhat closure. But I soon learned that it wasn't closure. I think once you've been falsely accused, it's something that stays with you for life. So in Canada, we have a national registry that's called on the RCMP is called CPIC. Um, After being found not guilty, my name remained on a database. So if I was pulled over for a simple speeding ticket or anytime I had contact with the police, my name would come up. It would list all my charges. And my fingerprints, my DNA, everything on that database. And so I had to fight. And it was a long fight to have my people removed. I was denied. I was told that I would have to wait 5 years to reapply. And I thought, and it, for something that should be so simple when somebody is found not guilty to have their names cleared, just as it was in 2012 for me, was a fight, and just every little step seems to be a fight. And but my Nexus card was another thing to get into the U.S. for many years. I lost the border once or twice. I haven't been to the U.S. I were all over the U.S. But I wasn't able to get my Nexus card for being found not guilty because of the charges that showed up on my record. Even though it said that I was found not guilty, I was denied an Nexus card. I appealed and I won. So that like Terri-Lynn said, that for a long time the fight seemed to be broken. And me, my self-esteem was low, but it's back. I'm going to continue fighting. And, you know, these decisions are wrong. And it not only does it affect me, it affects my wife, Terri-Lynn, my family, my daughters, my parents.
What toll did this take on your mental health, even after being cleared?
Um, that that's a hard one, and Terri-Lynn might be able to help with this, but I I've always been a fairly confident person, and fight for what's right, and I still am through false allegations, but that fight really did diminish, and I did lose a lot of self-esteem, and I've been diagnosed with PTSD and depression, anxiety disorder, and it, you know, thankfully I do have a lot of good days, but then I'll have 2, 3, 4 bad days where it's just a struggle. It just a struggle, and things creep up out of the blue, and um, we could be in a grocery store and just somebody bump into me from behind, and it just throws me into a panic. And Terri-Lynn might be able to add to that, but
Terri-Lynn?
He has his days, he has his moments, and he has triggers, definitely. And when during the day, if something happens that throws him off, it's definitely something that you can see, or I can anyway. He's the strongest man that I know, like I've said. He's got a really big fight in him. So I don't think knocking him down that way is possible, but processing when it's the downtime or unexpected, like in a grocery store. I've literally stood outside bathrooms and talked to somebody before they went into the bathroom just so he could come out without having to connect or cross paths with somebody. We've left shopping carts full of groceries in the middle of the grocery store and said, it's not worth it. You're worth it. Sometimes I don't understand, but I have to be understanding to the emotion and just go with it and try to help direct it. And I think that helps.
Chris, why do you say CAS had more power than the police or courts in your case?
So Children's Aid Society, like I said earlier, they placed a lot of conditions on me and my family, and specifically on me. So um, at one point, I had to have an alarm on my bedroom door so that as soon as my wife had gone to bed, I would have to stay in that room. So, and anybody that's been falsely accused can tell you that sleeping is an issue, and to have to stay in a bedroom um, out of fear that I'm going to do something to my own kids was just ridiculous. And CAS demanded on a number of occasions that I not be at home. And so I would live with my parents. And I think there were 4 or 5 times that I'd have to be out of my home. And it ranged from 5 weeks up to 4 months where I would be away from my kids and out of my home. They they're not accountable to anybody. So the people that investigated um, this at CAS um, were not properly trained to investigate this. The police had advised them to have my accuser contact the police, go in and do a police interview. CAS disregarded that and conducted their own interview.
What shocked you most about how the justice system handled your case?
Just the investigation as a whole. I just felt targeted right from the beginning when this happened, and I think there were 3 people kind of leading the way in this investigation. One detective and then 2 staff that were in management at Children's Aid. I think kind of spearheaded this against me, and it really there was no investigation. There was so much evidence that this didn't happen that the the prosecutor had he looked at this evidence, yeah, it wouldn't have gone to trial.
And what was your reaction to being denied record destruction or sealed after being found not guilty?
I thought that it was, just another roadblock. And that's what it's been since being falsely accused, is just roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. And, there's been things that I have been able to do that were started before this allegation happened. My mom was born in Malta, and so um, before all this happened, I was applying for my citizenship, and that was quickly put on hold because my lawyer told me it would be looked at as though I'm trying to flee, which I wasn't. Um, and since I have been able to get my Malta citizenship, and so I am really happy about that. But the other things is I'm still on a child abuse registry, and this registry is a national database that's held by the Children's Aid Societies in Canada. Um, and still, they're refusing to take my name off this database. So anytime I applied for a vulnerable sector check, which was my whole career, by the way, this would show up that I'm on this registry, which is wrong. And going back to your last question, why does CAS or Children's Aid Society have more power than the police or our court system? Is because the court can say that I was found not guilty after a trial. CAS can still say that they believe that I was guilty and keep my name on this registry.
What's been the cost to your career, your finances, and family long term?
My career ended the day this allegation was made against me. So I haven't I haven't worked in my career since 2013, which it is sad. I loved working with the families that had a child with autism and seeing their reaction to getting a dog and how the dog helped their family. Financially, it's been absolutely draining. I went through three lawyers. The first two, even though I was adamant about not taking a plea, wanted me to take a plea. So they were fired. Terri-Lynn helped, and my mom helped me find the lawyer that we ultimately went to trial with in 2016 or 2017. But the financial cost, I'm at about $1.3 million that this false allegation has cost me.
How do you find the strength to rebuild? And what role does Terri-Lynn play in helping you find that strength?
Yeah, Terri-Lynn has been a godsend to me, really. We got married on the anniversary of my not guilty verdict. So September 30th, 2019, I was found not guilty. And September 30th, 2023, we got married. Um,
Was that planned or just
yeah,
stance?
no, that was absolutely a plan. Yeah, that was absolutely a plan. So it's a hard day for me. Um, But yeah, now we have two things to celebrate. One, my freedom, and two, our marriage.
Terri-Lynn, what's it been like supporting Chris?
Oh, it's an emotional roller coaster. It's hard. But I wouldn't change it for anything. I see the fight and I want to fight it too. He's a good man. He always has. I knew him when I was a teenager, and he always had a place in my heart. And lucky me, I got to get him in the end and fight with him for his biggest fight, his freedom.
Great. Chris, you filed a civil suit after being found not guilty. And what are you hoping to change? What good can come?
So yeah, my two biological daughters and I filed a civil claim against the Children's Aid Society of Kitchener-Waterloo. Um, one, I say that the cost to my parents was enormous, and my career ended. I've suffered financial loss, and with that, Terri-Lynn has suffered as well. Um, Change needs to happen. Change needs to happen. Children's Aid Society need to be held accountable. They're so heavily protected right now from civil claims and lawsuits and wrongdoing that really needs to change. So that's really my objective and my goal.
What would you say to someone who hears a sexual abuse allegation and immediately assumes the guilt of the accused?
Yeah, that's hard. We, we often say that, people that are falsely accused are immediately guilty in the court of public opinion. Um, we've we've seen that firsthand with a number of the members that we support, and then certainly most recently in the Hockey Canada trial that we've been attending. Terri-Lynn and I have attended that trial each day, and I can see the look on the player's face, and I understand their fear. I understand their fear, and reading the articles that are published by the media um, aren't exactly aligning with what happened or what was said in court that day. And so I think that these players, not only have they been found guilty in the court of public opinion, but names constantly posted in the media as being guilty.
I think it's important to remember that if you're not firsthand, you don't have firsthand knowledge or you're not involved, you don't really know all the details. So you can't make a judgment. And you should leave the judgment for somebody else and realize it can happen to anybody. That's the scariest part.
What kind of change needs to happen in how false allegations are investigated or prosecuted?
So I think with our police right now, and I'm speaking about Canada, is that an arrest happens before an investigation, and I think that needs to change. So, and I think the police need to be supported and not scrutinized when they deem an allegation is unfounded.
I also think that they have to do a fair and open-minded investigation and look at both sides instead of one. There's a number of like people that have joined false allegations that have made the first attempt with the police and then found themselves in handcuffs and escorted under arrest. And I think that the police need to have an open mind and look at both sides.
Yeah, and I think that police need to be reminded that they're there to serve and protect, right? And serve and protect means everybody, not just the complainant.
What
I
advice?
think of the John, sorry, the
No,
John,
please.
when we look at what needs to change, I look at the John Mass story and think that's like the perfect example of what needs to change. It's horrible in all aspects.
Mhm.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. What advice would you give to someone who's just been falsely accused?
Yeah, so I kind of have this posted here. We often have members join that they were accused 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago and have no idea what to do. So there's a little bit of humor in this as well, but kind of say 10 things. So number one, the police are not your friend. Number two, shut your mouth. You cannot explain your way past a police mandate to arrest and charge. Number three, get a lawyer, the best one that you can afford. Number four, shut your mouth. Unless you're talking to your lawyer in private, you will only hurt yourself if you talk. Number five, buckle up. It's going to be a long ride for the next 2 to 3. Number six, shut your mouth. Evidence. Evidence that you're innocent can only be turned against you, or can and will be turned against you. Number seven, grab your ankles. This is going to be very expensive. Number eight, shut your mouth. Even if your family and friends, they can be called to testify. Number nine, your life will never be the same, unfortunately. Number 10, in case it wasn't clear, shut your mouth. This can't be overstated. Silence can never be misquoted.
What's one thing?
And
Go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was going to say
I mistook that pause.
yeah, there is a bit of humor in that, but really, so many things can be twisted and turned. And I remember just when I was arrested, just wanting to clear things up and tell my story, but that's not the time. That's not the time. Really at that time the police aren't your friend. You will have a chance to tell your story, but it should be in a court.
What's the one thing that you wish every Canadian and every parent understood about false allegations?
Just how easily they can, your brother, your grandson, your nephew, your niece, anybody, teacher, lawyer, police officer, how easily an allegation can happen. Without any investigation, your life could be ruined.
So I want our viewers and listeners to look to the description portion of the video where they can see information about False Allegations Canada, But for those who are listening and driving and can't check their phones, Chris and Terri-Lynn, or whoever is the spokesperson, please tell us about where we can learn more about False Allegations Canada.
Yeah, so our website is www.falseallegationscanada.org. Our phone number is 519-549-0811. That's a 24-hour line. Anybody can get a hold of us at any time for support, or if they're in crisis, or just need somebody to talk to. My email address is chris@falseallegationscanada.org.
Well, that's all we have time for today. And I want to thank you, Chris, and you, Terri-Lynn, as well. Thank you both for being a guest on the Law Center videocast.
Thank you very much for having us, Larry.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Larry.
My pleasure. Thank you. We've been here with Chris and Terri-Lynn Fowler, and I am your host, Larry DeMarco. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and comment, and click the notification bell next to the subscribe to be alerted of new videos. This has been brought to you by the Law Center, the largest network of the best trial lawyers in the United States. Go to the description portion of this video where you can learn more about Chris and Terri-Lynn's nonprofit, False Allegations Canada, the Law Center Attorney Network, and the Family Court Custody Boot Camp. Signing off. Tune in next time. Bye for now.